Hello and welcome to Technology in Society, HSS 205. My name is Annette Clark and I'll be your instructor for the semester. Here you see my email addresses and you can contact me at either or both of them. So this is an exercise that we do in class, but one of the things I'd like you to zero in on is this idea of technology, how you view technology, your role with technology. And the really good um, news about this class is that you don't have to know a lot about technology in order to be successful. We'll be discussing, all kinds of neat things like innovations, a little bit of science, a little bit of sociology, a little history. So, your ability to deal with technology is not necessarily all that important. But there are things that you do need to know about this class. The first thing is classroom participation. You are expected to participate to, give your opinion of what you think the issues are of a certain technology. I don't want to be the person standing up there going wah 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 wah, so help me out, okay? We will be using D2L quite a bit in this course. So I do encourage you, if you're not familiar with D2L, to find somebody to help you out. There are tutorials on D2L that you could use and go through to help you understand how to navigate and all that other good stuff. But your assignments and any presentations will be available on D2L. Online discussions, you will need to do 5 throughout the semester. There will be 13 total, but please be aware that they do open and close in 2-week intervals. So once it closes, you can't go in and do it. So this is an easy 2.5 points on your final grade. Just, you have plenty of time, but don't leave it to the last minute. You need to keep up with it. And as we go along, what the topics of the discussions are things we're covering in class, so it's also a good review for you. You will have a short presentation to do in class. This is 2 points on your final grade. Don't worry too much about it. There's other information, and we'll be discussing this in class. So, but you'll need to make a short presentation on a innovation, a technological innovation, and how it affects the way people live, how they do things, that kind of stuff, good and bad. There will be 4 papers, short papers, about 3 pages. I have designed them to not be research papers. However, please understand that the rules of plagiarism still apply. So if you don't understand what plagiarism is, or you have questions, or you're not sure, either ask me, ask at the tutoring center. There's an online writing tutoring that you can access, but don't wait until after you have submitted it. Ask before, because after you submit it, if I catch you plagiarizing, you will be severely penalized to the point where if it's really bad, you'll get a 0 on the paper. Each paper is worth 5 points towards your final grade. There will be 3 module tests. Each is worth 25% of your final grade. They will only cover what we have covered in the module. So Module 1 will cover Module 1 stuff. Module 2, Module 2, Module 3, Module 3. There will be no cumulative test in this course. Now, there is a short quiz that you need to take that is just evidence that you have read and understood the course requirements, because I don't want somebody at the end of the semester to say, well, I didn't know. It's all, anytime you have a question, check with the course requirements. There are all kinds of help up there. There's a class notes area on D2L that has a lot of information, including the course requirements, that you can access. Okay, one of the things I do stress a lot is if you are encountering any difficulties, please let me know as soon as possible. Do not wait till the end of the semester and then tell me, well, I had problems, because at that point, there's nothing I can do about it. Please remember, my job is to help you get successfully through this class, not, I don't want to fail anybody. So let me know so that we could do something. So one of the things I want you to do is think about your expectations from this class. You saw Technology and Society in the course catalog. What does it mean to you? Okay. Um, One of the things that we'll be doing is using critical thinking skills, and this is York Tech's critical thinking skill model, and you can look through these, and we'll be trying to do these steps when we're talking about certain technologies. So let's talk about this class. Now, when I first started this class, I had to figure out how am I going to go about it. So I looked up certain things because I'm a writer, so I go to the dictionary. Um, a good definition of technology that I came up with was a system by which a society provides its members with those things needed or wanted. Now notice we have that idea of society, but also the idea of system. It's not just a thing, it's a system. And what people need or want. Society is all people collectively regarded as constituting a community of related interdependent individuals. And the thing to remember with this is that we are not alone in life. We go through life interacting and depending upon other people. Very few people go through life without, totally alone. And then, of course, the idea of progress, which is a moving forward or onward or development or advancing toward a higher or better state, improvement. Okay, so, that was kind of interesting to get me started on how to think about this class. Another thing that we have to remember is Maslow's hierarchy in needs. You got to remember there's a difference between tools and technology. A cell phone in and of itself would not work without the system behind it. So the cell phone is a product or tool. The technology is all that goes along with it. The cell phone towers, the satellites, the person who bills you, the provider, that kind of stuff. This is all part of the technology. And the cell phone itself would not work unless you had all this other stuff. Okay, there was a guy named Abraham Maslow, and he came up with the idea that we have to meet certain needs in our lives before we can move on to the next level. And we're always striving to meet needs. So the most basic needs, like physiological needs, food, shelter, that. Then safety needs, making sure that we're safe from the elements, safe from any kind of harm. Belongingness and love needs. And, of course, esteem needs. And then, of course, there are the need to know and understand, which is our need to fulfill our curiosity, as well as aesthetic needs, things like arts and music and things like that. If you notice, all of these needs up to aesthetic needs, we see the use of technology in them. Okay? But when we get to the top two needs, the need for self-actualization, where we find out who we are and what our potential is and where we are in the world. And then the idea of transcendence, we transcend what our needs are to what our need is for the community, for other people. How do we help other people meet their needs? These last two really don't have a whole lot to do with technology, but I will say that most people don't get there, or they don't stay there. Very few people make it there. And we do fluctuate from between levels. It's not like we're here and then we go on and we never go back. We do fluctuate as we go along through life among these different levels of needs. And one of the things to remember is that technology is based on needs and wants. So one of the things that we can always depend upon is that things will change. And that is the path of technology, is that things are always changing. Now, if you sit back and you'll think about, there are some wonderful things about technology, the marvels of technology. If you think about your own field of study and where you're going with it, some of the wonderful things that will make your life better in your chosen profession. But there are also lots of other wonderful things happening out in the world because of technology in business, science, medicine, architecture, all these kinds of things where things have changed for the better. One of the things I like to point out is the Hubble telescope. With all its faults, the Hubble telescope has really opened our understanding of the universe and where we are in it and what our planet is compared to other planets. And plus it takes some really cool pictures. Okay, that's one of the marvels of technology. Other things are medical technology. You think about MRIs and CAT scans and things like that. If you didn't have that kind of technology, previous to this technology, and if there was something wrong in your brain, somebody would have to cut your head open to look for it, and that poses all kinds of risks. So, um, you know, that's a marvel. Lots of medical marvels, but everyday marvels, press brakes and computers and just air conditioning. And two of my favorite is indoor, plumbing and lighting. If we didn't have them, how much lousy would our life be? But there are also disasters that come along with technology. There was the instance of Bhopal, India, where Union Carbide had a fertilizer plant, and they built it in India because there were fewer regulations. Um, and they ended up having a gas spill, which killed thousands of people who had started living around the area. There are also the Challenger and Columbia space shuttle disasters. The Challenger blew up on its way up because of a failure of an O-ring, and the Columbia was destroyed on its way down because it lost some of those thermal tiles to protect it from the heat. But we also see things like the Fukushima nuclear power plant disaster in 2011 and the Chernobyl nuclear reactor disaster in 1986, which people still cannot live in the area today. That's 30 years ago. But what are some of the factors that lead to a technological success, and what are some of the factors that lead to disasters? Well, usability, availability, dependability, organization, political support, affordability. These are things that lead to successes in technology. Mismanagement, miscommunication, something that's too expensive, political pressure, shortcutting safety for economics is a way where we could see potential for technological disasters. So as we're going through this class, I want you to consider certain things. One is that technology is a double-edged. It is how it is valued, how we value it, and how we use it that makes it good or bad. The technology itself is not good or bad. It's the use of it. And what's good for one person may not be good for somebody else. Remember that the driving force behind technological innovation is what people need or want. If we don't meet those needs or wants, the technology, it's useless. It's not going to go anywhere. Everything has a cost. Okay, it may not be a monetary cost. It may be emotional cost. It may be a moral cost. It may be all kinds of different types of costs, but everything has a cost to it. And what happens when technology that we take for granted fails? What happens when we walk into a fast food restaurant and it takes us a half an hour to get our burger? Our expectations are not met. We get frustrated, and sometimes we don't know how to adapt to not having that technology. So let's look at our definition that we're going to use for the rest of the semester. Technology is a system that uses knowledge and organization to produce objects and techniques for the attainment of specific goals. The main elements that you have to look at are the idea of a system, organization, results, products or techniques, and specific goals. Okay? These are what I would like you to consider when you do the reading for next class.